Okay, I am here with one of my most amazing clients ever, Anna, and I'll get her to introduce herself in a moment. But she has recently been on one of the programs that I run called Free to Be Me, which if you're watching this and you've been following me for a while, it's the program that was formerly 50 Days of Transformation. And Anna is an absolute inspiration, which I'll get into it a little bit more in a moment, inside the tribe as we call it. And I think she's totally inspirational as well. And I suppose I want to get her to help you see what inspiration looks like, because I'm sure you don't feel inspirational sometimes, but people look at you that way, that you totally are. And I will stop in a minute, but I want to share this journey so Anna can share her journey, things that she has done, and that if you're watching this and you feel like, I'm a bit stuck, and what's next, and all of these things, you'll get some amazing goodness out of this that will help you strive for what you want. Because I can say right now, when I think of Anna, I think of someone who will never settle for less, someone who will always go after what they want, no matter what it takes. And to me, that's completely inspirational. But I'm going to stop there. And thank you so much for joining me, Anna. Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Very kind words. My name's Anna. I am a qualified naturopath. I am also in my final year of pharmacy degree as well. And I'm also the mum of 2 young girls. So got a lot of my to keep me busy.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm doing the program second time round now.
Yes.
It was a friend and my sister actually who were doing the program, and they kept telling me how much I should do the program and how much they think that I would get out of it based on their experience.
Nothing like force from friends and family.
And I thought, I don't know if I'm ready to do the program, which now sounds absurd because I don't think you can be at a point where you can say you're ready for anything truly. You just have to start. And so I did, and I started because I was doing a lot, but I felt that I didn't really have much clarity on the future and what I wanted to do specifically in the future. So I was a little bit unsure, and then there were some personal thought patterns and beliefs that some of which I had for some time, and that I was hoping to work through, so then I could get more clarity on myself and my goals. Some of my goals have been on the back burner for a decade.
You're not alone. You are so not alone.
This time later, thinking there are still things I really want, but feeling stuck in terms of how to start. I started really doubting myself, I think, because it had been so long that I was even capable of doing it. Those things. So that mindset of who am I to do it?
Who am I to have this?
Yeah. Yes. That's right. So I started. I'm so glad I did. Because it's certainly been a journey. But I said, I was saying recently that I don't think where I am at now and all the changes I've made with mindset, with old thought patterns, with self-belief, I can't go back to that person. It's only been 4 or 5 months, not long.
Not long.
I go back to being that person. I am falling in love too much with I know it sounds
how cool
very fairy, but
I love it.
Myself enough to know that of course I can reach my goals. Of course I'm good enough. Of course I can do it. And I'll be great at the things that I want to achieve.
That is so cool.
The journey will continue, but I'm going to grow grow, strive for my goals and grow at the same time. So it's all those things, those thought patterns, those limiting beliefs, they're not something that is a reason to stop or not to even try. They're just things to work through now. So and I'll keep growing with my goals.
Absolutely. And I love it. And there's so many awesome things you've already said, but I want to just go back to one thing that you said at the very start, and that was am I ready? Am I ready? And I hear this so often from people, because they're like, oh, I wait for the moon to align with the stars and the tidal pool, and and I know it, but it's so true. People wait for this imaginary place in the future, and you thought about it, and I know I hear it all the time. You're so not alone. But had you waited, imagine if you waited, that it would have gotten bigger. And you just said it's been 4 or 5 months and you're starting to fall in love with the person who you are. Like, that's pretty transformational. That's pretty amazing. What do you say to someone who's waiting to start their journey into themselves?
Well, for me now, thinking back, I was thinking I'm not ready. It's to me that now seems absurd. Wherever you're at is the perfect time, because whatever you feel is holding you back, you will grow through that. You'll work through that, and you'll grow through that, and you'll see those things as not something to keep you back, but to learn from, and to grow with. And keep using that word, but that's what it's felt like to me. I've learnt so much about myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind and just what it is that brings me joy, and yeah, I feel like I'm rambling, but there's no wrong time.
No, and I
start where you're at now.
And see, I love that. And as I said at the very start, you're so inspirational. And people, and as I said, I hear it all the time about people waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and even jumping into the program or jumping into working with me, and they start and then they realize that they're going to open up something that's quite big maybe, and something that they've been putting off for a long, long time. And that's okay. You're allowed to feel that fear. Absolutely. You're allowed to have your feelings, as we talk about inside Freedom in Me. Have your feelings. They're natural. They're normal. When they take over and they stop you from living your life, that's when we really check in. But you've had all these feelings and thoughts and blocks and whatever else you want to refer to them as. So you've had them all. And I just want to say again, Miss Inspiration, have you stopped? What have you done?
No. Okay, so I did the program the first time. So initially I thought, okay, well, I'll just get clear on my goals and straighten things out and break a little bit of my values, whatever. But no, I worked through all the chapters. I did the exercises, and then it wasn't until the end of the program that big stuff, some really beliefs that I've had for most of my life that came up. And I remember talking to you, Lucy, about them when they first came up, and just going, wow, I wasn't even aware that this was inside me still. So the first time I did the program, working on issues that were bothering me at the time. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of more messy stuff, and then it just hit me. Some really old beliefs that for a very long time that suddenly came up into my consciousness, into my awareness. Yeah. I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't done the program the first time, because I was so focused on all that surfacey day-to-day stuff that I thought was the issue.
Yeah, and I want to just say that, sorry to cut you off then, but we see behaviours or habits or feelings that were expressed at that time on elements that are coming up in our life right then and there. And we notice that, and we notice those things. But we also, in the back of our mind, have got got these goals on the back burner, and one day I'll do this, and one day I'll fulfill my potential of this, and one day I'll, you know, it's always this one day, and it's like, I'll get there, I'll get there, I'll get there. And this is the thing. What was that? Sorry?
And then 10 years later, I was still in the same place.
Yeah. And that's, you're, as I said, you're so not alone, but this is the patterns that come up for people, and then they'll jump in to doing something like Free to Be Me, and they'll just be like, oh, well, what could it do? I'll just define my values. I'll get a bit more foundation, because that's what the program's about. I'll strive forward a little bit more. And then you get to the end and you've done that stuff, and then all of a sudden you feel confident enough, like that element of confidence from that foundation in you. You're like, well, hang on a second. There's more stuff that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden it's not about just what's happening in your world now. All of a sudden you peel back layers, as we talk about, and these layers just start to be worked through. And some of them are huge. For some people they're huge, and for some people they're finite. You know, everyone's journey is so different, as you know, through being part of the tribe and sharing the journey with so many other people. But you know, you have not stopped. You have not stopped. And when I feel like you just need a break and you can't give anymore, you are just like, whoa, I'm jumping in the ocean. Don't pass me a paddle or a boat. I'm just going to submerge, and I'm going to make this happen, because you're not going to freak and settle for less, ever. Even though you don't know what exactly that was at the time. And I'll stop. But I really need to call that out, because you're like you inspire me with how brave you are.
Yeah, I'm definitely have learnt to become comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. But what has that done for you?
I've experienced enough doing the program to know that, I use the word grow, that's how you grow. That's how you change, and you release, by working through all that uncomfortable stuff. And that's why I'm committed, because I've experienced enough to know that so much on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so much better. I'm just going to repeat that. It's so much better on the other side. So we feel like where we are, we've got to stay there. We don't want to open up a can of worms or whatever is going through our head. We're not ready. Oh, we'll put it on for another day. I don't have enough time. I'm busy with study, like you are, 2 young kids. We use the excuses.
Excuses, yes.
But you haven't. So you have young kids.
Yes.
You are studying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as I said, I've experienced too much working through this program to know how much better it is on the other side.
Yeah.
And in the past, it has been, I have suppressed or repressed beliefs and thoughts and things, just not wanting to go there, thinking it's too hard. There must be an easier way. If I could just find that perfectly worded affirmation or quote, or, just find the perfect talk on YouTube. I won't have to do the work.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating a bit, but that's sort of what I was of the mindset of.
Oh, I love that you said that, because sorry, I'm getting excited now. But that's the thing at the start, and it's funny because you're starting to use some affirmations now. Yeah. But at the start, if you used affirmations, would this have worked?
No way. I think I would have just been frustrated and angry.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think it would have just created more resistance.
Yeah, and I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not working, and there's something wrong with me.
That's right. I feel now where I'm at, I understand that. I think your beliefs have to match the affirmation. If you don't know what you're reading or you're seeing, it's never going to resonate. It's never going to make change.
No, because we were chatting before, and there's declarations, I suppose, that you're using now. So affirmations of where you're going and what you're declaring to own, to have, to be in this life, and they're working because you're declaring them. Whereas at the start, if you declared them, you would have been like, right.
I didn't believe enough in myself or in my to think that I could achieve them. So, I would have just created a lot of distance within yourself but now I find them so beneficial because there's something I'll declare that I can see. And I know that there's a lot more to work on. There are more limiting beliefs, but I don't see them as a reason not to achieve those things. They're just things to work through and to make my goal even bigger and better, to be able to achieve it with greater ease and greater more joy, not being a struggle.
Yeah. We don't need to struggle and we don't need to settle. And as I said, you really are an amazing inspiration. You're so encouraging of everyone and yourself, even though there's times where you have been super frustrated, but your dedication to your cause is seriously standout. And that's why I wanted to interview you on this. And and you don't feel that way. You don't feel that way, but it's just that commitment of, I can make this work. I can make this work no matter what. And you could have stopped after number one, going through it first time, and then you still would have been in a better spot.
Yeah, definitely. But I felt, I think, the support in the group is amazing, by the way, I have to say. And it really has given me, particularly at the start, given me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And knowing that there are other people on this journey, it was comforting to know that I'm not alone. I've got this amazing support group.
Yeah.
I did eventually feel comfortable to open up to those uncomfortable aspects that I was trying to avoid. And towards the end of the program, the first time around, I remember speaking with you, and when those limiting beliefs came up, and I really feel that was the beginning of the undoing of that old limited self.
So can you cut out a little bit then? So speaking to me at the end of the program first time round,
yes,
that was the beginning of
the undoing of the old me.
Yeah.
When I was felt safe enough and strong enough to open myself up to all those uncomfortable aspects of my limiting beliefs and old thought patterns and habits, and really let them come into my consciousness and awareness, and feel them rather than push them away.
Yeah. And it sounds crazy because you're like, I'm feeling these things, I'm getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. People are like, oh, what's she doing to herself? But this is, and you're not an out, like, this is what happens. As a human behavior specialist, I see this every single day, but I simply want to say that's a cue, as I said, you're inspirational. That's a cue to say, I can work through this stuff. I can do something about this because I don't have to live here. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's more uncomfortable staying where I am and trying to drown out the noise, trying to pretend it's not there, feeling stressed, feeling whatever it is. There's so many different things for different people, but that's more uncomfortable really than getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and working through it.
Exactly, that's right. Because they'll never go away. You won't be able to keep ignoring them. They will. They'll just manifest differently. Sitting on certain goals for 10 years. That's so, and that's because of those limiting beliefs I had. So you can't ignore them. They're there, and you just don't realise. You think you're ignoring them or you're pushing them away, but you end up living those beliefs without even being aware of it, and just getting frustrated.
Yeah. Oh, Anna, it's so cool. As I said, you are such an inspiration, and I just want to ask you, you don't have to go into detail, obviously, but what's next for you? What's next?
Yeah, I've got, I'm doing those goals for life. It's so exciting. So I'm going in my final year of pharmacy studies, so I'm committed to that, about that, and I'm starting up a new naturopathic business as well.
Yep.
So I've got lots of plans and ideas for that.
Yeah.
I'll be doing, initially I'll be doing Skype consultations, long distance consultations. I'm working on an ebook as
Yeah.
well, writing an ebook which will be released in the next month or two.
So all this stuff's happened in the last few months, and I've seen your journey, and like, it's always been, I'll do it, and it's not that you haven't really wanted to, but there's just been like, you just can't. And now all of a sudden it's like happiness, fulfillment, fun, all these things, business, success, ambition, all these things are allowed to just shine through.
Yes. And I'm aware of more beliefs that don't serve me, but I'm not letting them stop me. I'm working toward my goals at the same time as keeping on working on myself, because they're not anything to hold me back anymore. I'm aware of them, but I'm not threatened by them anymore.
No, and you don't need to drown them out. They can come up because you can work through them.
I welcome them now. I'd rather be with them and work through them rather than them being hiding in my subconscious and presenting themselves in ways that I'm aware of. That to me, it's much, much scarier now.
Yeah.
So it's great to be in this place of greater self-awareness.
I love it. It's so cool. As I said, I can't stop saying it, inspiration. And every time I see emails or anything from you, I just grin, because I'm like, look at her. She is, as I said, jumping in the ocean, no paddle. Like, I'm just going to make this happen. And that commitment, I wish I could bottle it and spray it around the world sometimes. But I know I've kept you for way too long before the start of interviewing you as well. But I'd love to say, so there's a couple of things that you, sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say? You said start. Don't wait till you think you need to be ready. Just start.
Yeah, you will never. It's like, I don't have a cleaner, but it's like people who feel they need to clean their house before the cleaner comes.
Yeah.
Because ready for the cleaner, it doesn't really make any sense. No. And I don't think you can truly appreciate that until you start, and then you realise that waiting to be ready doesn't really make sense. It's absurd to think that way.
Waiting until you're ready is holding you back, really.
Yeah. If there was another word to replace ready, just get rid of it altogether. Just start.
Yeah, just start.
Just start.
Even. I cut you off again.
No. Perhaps if you're not feeling ready, that's the time to start.
Yeah.
You don't feel ready. Don't know.
No,
but,
I love it.
Just start.
Just start. Yeah. So, because we hear it all the time, wait till this happens, and they're imaginary things. And I love that analogy you used about clean before the cleaner comes. Because sometimes we're actually, and this is what we talk about in Free to Be Me a lot too, about honesty, being honest with yourself first and foremost. And sometimes we feel like there's so much that could possibly erupt out of this, that there's that shame attached to it. There's a bit of guilt attached to it. There's a few other emotions that we don't really want people to see. So we feel like we've got to keep things tidy and perfect before anyone can see them. But then we pay for someone to come and clean the house, so to speak.
Yes.
But so has part of this journey been about you being honest with yourself?
Absolutely, yes. So at the start, as I said earlier, I thought I'll get a little bit better on my goals and work on my values, and the more I got into the program, the more I started talking to Lissy and being in contact with the other members of the group. The more honest I became with myself, the more allowed to come into my awareness of being. And yeah, there is, I guess, feelings of, you think that you might feel shame or other negative emotions when you start confronting things that you do, it's actually really empowering. There is no shame. And working with Lucy and seeing other people in the group working on their journeys, there's no shame. You're not judging anybody else. You're proud of them for sticking to it and for working on themselves and for wanting to improve their life, not just for their sake, for their family's sake, for their children. There's no shame.
No. And it's in our head. It's like that shame and guilt or whatever it is. And I just use those as a few things that I see a lot. It's in our head. And, it's, you know, with that analogy of clean before the cleaner comes is why I really want to bring it up. But we have these things that we feel like we need to sort out before we move forward. But actually, it's the other way around. We need to sort that out before we can move forward. You know, we need to actually move forward before we can sort that out, I suppose. But then you jump into the group in the tribe and you see other people and you talk to other people and everyone's so supportive of everyone. But then, and we remind, like I'm always reminding people, well, hang on, are you giving yourself that same sort of support? What's going on? They're like, wow, I can see how much I'm giving to other people. Yeah, why can't I give myself this support? I'm no different to them on this journey. And it's like a little condensed way to say, hey, I'm doing an amazing job. I'm just like, I'm human. I'm just like everyone else in here. And even though things are different, have got different journeys, I'm okay. And I'm allowed to work on this just the same as I extend that kindness to them.
Yeah, and at the start, particularly, I understand people's hesitancy because it is confronting at times, and you don't want to sometimes admit to yourself that you feel a certain way or you've got this belief because it might be perceived as weak or whatever it is. Once you really allow yourself to open up to it, you just realise the strength it takes and the commitment it takes to work through it.
You're doing it.
Yeah, and you're doing it. And you're doing it. Yeah. You know, you're releasing it and you're moving forward.
You're making life what you want, how you want it, without blinkers, as in I can't do more than this. It has to be within this realm because that's all you can see. It's again, I feel worthy enough to go after these things like what you're doing now. It's like I can handle this stuff. And that's what I mean. You just are not settling. Whereas before, maybe you were settling because that was the realm. And it's not just you. I'm not pointing the finger going, you, this was you. But it was inside this realm. And all of a sudden your world has just opened up.
That's right.
And the only thing that's changed is your mindset and your self-belief. And it's not been it's not like hot air inflated where I'm just pumping people up for the sake of making you feel good, because that's not sustainable either. You come up and you come down. We talk about foundations all the time, but I want to stress that because the bravery and the commitment you've got to this can't come from you just being pumped up with hot air. Like you are creating this.
Yes, that's sustainable. That won't last. Whereas, again, as I said earlier, too much has shifted, too much has changed, too much has been released. I've become aware of too much to ever go back to that person I was before I started the program.
Yeah.
It's not something that can just be deflated or that will pass. No, it's with me now. It's who I am.
And this is your new normal, and that's a comfortable normal, and you're seeing that you can stretch that.
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
How exciting!
Yes, it is. It is amazing, and it's something that I couldn't have anticipated at the start. I couldn't have anticipated feeling like this or looking at my obstacles in this way, just not as something to hide from and to keep myself small because of. There's things to work through, and I welcome them into my consciousness and into my awareness. And I look forward to the uncomfortable now because I know that's not going to last. That's not the part.
Oh, I love it. It's right. It's not going to pass. It's a learning. You believe in yourself and you have so much confidence in you that you know that it's something to grow you, not something to hold you back.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I told you, Miss Inspiration, pin-up
They're
girl.
limited. They will pass if you work through them. And you've got, I mean, Lucy is amazing. You
Oh,
are amazing. So.
it takes one to know one right here. But thank you. But you have done the work. So, and I say that with everyone. I can give you all the tools in the world, and I can speak to you every single day. But if you're not doing anything with them,
Yeah.
you are going to be, you're going to feel good that you got support there. That's great, but nothing's really going to change. So,
Yeah.
as I said, sometimes I wish that I could bottle your commitment and sprinkle it around the world, because that's you are commitment, you are inspiration. And as I said, that's what I think of you when I think of your name. I'm like, inspiration, committed to a cause, and someone who will never settle for less. Like, never settle for less. You will challenge that status quo, not because you're not enough, but because you know that you can back yourself and things can be what you want, and you're happy where you are, but you're like, well, but I can still do this, I can still have more, more, but it's reliant on me. It's not reliant on anything else. It's just reliant on me, and it's a comfortable place because I'm driving it.
Yeah. But I have to say that I have, and I say this sincerely, had a couple of life-changing conversations with you throughout this time working with you. We have a way to the way you ask you'll ask a particular question, or you'll phrase something just right to bring that out of me. That things into my awareness, and then it just clicks.
Yeah.
That conversation we had about values, I was stuck on them, and that honestly is a conversation that I will never forget. It's
That's so cool.
that was definitely
Life changing. That's so cool. And I really want to ask you about that, if that's okay, because and then I'll let you go. But as I said, I could talk to you for hours. As you already know, I've already probably kept you for close to an hour, and I promise I will let you go in a minute. But I want to say that we think values or all this work that you do is actually really simple, but it's not just going through the motions. And I remember that conversation with values as well. And it was, so you had done your values how many times before that conversation?
at least 5. I've had I sat down at least 5 times and wrote down 5 different lists of values.
Mm-hmm.
But they were really just words on a page for me at that stage.
Yeah.
For example, love was one of my values I'd written down, and love is important, and but they were still just really like words on a page. I didn't quite understand the value,
Importance.
the significance of knowing your values.
Yeah.
As sort of, I guess, as your guiding post in life.
Yeah, and what happens when they do click? Because that's the thing. People go, oh yeah, I've done this. And it's so, I say it all the time, especially when I work with people in corporate and they've done this stuff before, and they're like, oh, I know my values, blah, 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 blah. And they write it down. And I'm like, they're not your values when we talk through them. And then they think, huh? Well, hang on a second. And it's one of the most simplest things in this world, but it's not the simplest thing to get right. So what happened when you got it right? Like, I remember the conversation and you were just elated, but what did it feel like to you?
Yeah, it felt really light. For the rest of the day, I felt like I was walking on clouds. It sounds so dramatic, but
No, it's so true. I hear you.
so we had a conversation about, I told you about frustration about these lists I had, and yes, love is important, kindness is important, but we started talking about what it is that drives me, what my goals are, what it is I do, and what I embody, and the conversation just started to flow, and all of a sudden, the values just came out in this, and I realized that is who I am. That's these intrinsic part of me that are driving me toward my goals. They're what as I said, I've had these goals in my head because of my values, because that's who I am. I
Yeah.
can't, if I was somebody else, I'd have different goals and values, but this is me, and this is
Yeah.
what I'm doing with my life, and why.
Yeah, and it's like this ownership and this clarity, and then it drives motivation. All of a sudden, you're okay to do things, and then it's there's limiting beliefs that might pop around that, but they come up so much faster because all of a sudden you're really clear on where you're going, and nothing's going to stop you. And that's where some of those hurdles might come in, but you're like, well, I can work through that because I know that I'm going after this stuff.
Because those goals, they are me. They will bring out the best in me.
Yeah.
And that's what my values are. And all of a sudden it makes sense. Why, I think a lot of people would have moved on to something else by now, but I'm still hung up on these goals that I've had, and finally I'm working towards them. It's so exciting to laugh. But they've always been there because they are who I am. I couldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah, it is so cool. It's so awesome, Anna. It's such an inspiration. And, as I said, I can just look at the time and think you're going to curse me for keeping you for so long. But is there one, so for anyone who's watching this, is there one thing, so whether they're starting the program or thinking about starting the program even, is there one thing that you would leave? I know you've given us some amazing goodies already, especially about just start, but is there anything else and you don't have to, is there anything else that you would add to someone listening?
I think I would leave people with I'd like to say that you are worth it, and you owe it to yourself, and I think you owe it to the world to bring out the best in yourself and let that shine through and make the world a better place by the work you do on yourself, because I believe that change, it really does happen with the individual.
Yeah.
So yourself, bring out the best in yourself, and then let that shine, and that affects the people around you and improve their life. You'll be improving your own life, but you'll be, as Lucy has talked about, the ripple effect that will affect the people around you, your family, those close to you, those you work with, and that will just continue that energy. And
you're worth it. That is, as I said, Miss Inspiration. I love it. You are worth it. You are so worth it, and it's hard to see that sometimes, but once you start this journey into yourself, you start to go, I am so worth it. And it's solid. It's real. And say that again. It cut out a bit then.
It's going to come. It's not going to sound arrogant. It's going to come from a place of authenticity and self-love.
Absolutely. And there's a difference. People think it's if I feel this way, then somehow I'll be arrogant like that person that I know down there that I don't want to be like. And you're like, that's not true confidence. That's not true self-worth. It just comes from a place of flow and love and harmony. It really does. As corny as that might sound, it's just easy.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much for everything, being here, choosing this program, choosing me, choosing to be worthy, and living out your dreams and just not ever settling, like just being a total inspiration, as I said, for me even. And I truly mean that when I say that. You just giving it your all, and you are not ever going to settle for anything less than you want and you deserve, which is, I take my hat off to you and thank you so much.
The journey continues.
Absolutely, as it does for all of us, but you're doing it. Woohoo! Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna.